East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360 and WIFI 1460. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome, fellow patriots, and welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and around the world on the Internet with our Internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And joining me today, as he usually does on Wednesdays, and yes, this is Wednesday, so it must be Jonathan Mosley. John, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Present. I'm here.
Yes, and it's great to have you with us. And John, I'll tell you, it's just like a breaking dam. All the news every day. It's absolutely incredible how we're deluged by major news events. And John, this Ebola thing I think it's going to be something that's not going to go away.
Well, I think you're right. And I was just mentioning as we just came on, I was driving back from Maryland here, Betsy McCoy, the Regnery author, and she's been on the show, and she was going on about this thing and saying some of the same things that I think we got to first yesterday in our show, but a lot more details, talking with Tom Marr out of Baltimore. One thing that hit me from the statistics they were going through is that you have to realize most of the people who are currently infected with the Ebola from this breakout don't know it yet. That's one of the most frightening things. You talk about people getting on airplanes, and you say the people who have died are a minority of the people who've been infected with this outbreak. Most of the people who have already been exposed, do not yet know that they need to be careful. That's one of the frightening things.
Well, John, there is a 21-day incubation period with this Ebola virus, which, for instance, if you're exposed to a cold, you have a 3 to 4 day incubation period. So you can pretty well count back 3 or 4 days to who you've been around, who now has a cold, and figure out that, well, that's where I got it from. But this has a 21-day incubation period. That's also very scary, John.
It is. And, I don't want to just be scary for the sake of being scary, but there is an important thing to be being reckless, and we are being reckless. I think that, I hate to, I don't know. Everybody seems to exploit the news and try to learn something from it. But for the open border people, this could not have come at a worse time, maybe a better time to get people to wake up and realize how silly they're being. Yesterday on our show, Dr. Vliet, if I pronounce it correctly.
Vliet. Dr. Elizabeth Lee Vliet.
Vliet. She said, she pointed out how the number of virus particles necessary to catch the infection is unusually low if it comes on your skin compared to other infections.
Right.
Dr. McCoy was saying, as I was listening to her today, how also some of the much worse infections that are going around, MERS, and she named off some that I'm not that good at, they're not airborne either. They're based on bodily contact, although there is significant question about whether they're airborne or not, because we are having serious infections. Now, the other person, Patrick Sawyer, I believe, was an American who died of the disease in Africa and has infected others. I was just learning that he collapsed. They have an airport surveillance video of him lying on his stomach in the airport, and they let him get on the plane.
Which airport is that, John?
I believe it was in Africa. I think he flew to Liberia within the African continent.
Right.
But then several other people who have been in contact with him have come down with the disease, and they're very worried about how many other people may have been reached, because as you wrote very, very quickly, of course, in the past this is confined to rural areas where people travel slowly because of lack of technology and prosperity. We're now talking about reaching areas where people have the capacity technologically in cities to travel much faster than the disease develops. The mortality rate of Ebola means that in small rural outbreaks, it would die out before people would get very far. Once it reaches major cities, and it looks like it has, it's a very different scenario. That's why people say, I've heard of Ebola for decades. Yeah, you have, but we do need to be careful.
Well, John, also in the past, wisdom tells you that you quarantine. That quarantine is the best defense against rampant infestation. But you've got idiots like Barack Obama, who approves the Center for Disease Control to send a jet to Africa not once but twice to bring Ebola patients back to the United States for treatment. I mean, to me, that is the most stupid thing that this man has done in his presidency.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well,
in my opinion. Now, let me also say, Jonathan, that supposedly they brought these two patients here. They gave them doses of an experimental drug, and they're making improvements. Well, why in the world, Jonathan, then why didn't they take the medicine there and treat them and keep them there? There was no need to bring these people back here. No need at all, unless you want to infect the population of the United States with a deadly virus. Thank you, Barack Obama. Or
they're just that stupid. Now, I don't know if it started with AIDS, but the politicization of disease, since AIDS is an extraordinary, I want to say, perversion in the sense of perversion of logic, a corruption of logic, and that's the difficult thing. Is that what you said? Quarantine, pretty much obvious. Sometimes it's hard stuff. Sometimes it's a difficult situation, but it's just obvious that that no longer exists on the left. Quarantine is considered politically, incorrect, and now diseases have human rights after AIDS and such things. But they were talking too that a C-5, he said, why don't you load up a C-5 aircraft, which is huge? Take the hospital over there. Hopefully, let's pray that the serum works, that they're able to develop a vaccine and things. But you're right, there's no reason.
Well, John, great. I hope the vaccine works too. But there have been doctors that have died treating Ebola patients that have had wearing hazmat suits. Okay, so they bring these people to the United States. They bring them here by plane. Is that plane going to be disinfected? I mean, how are they going to clean that plane? That plane is going to go somewhere else. Other people are going to get on that plane. Somehow, some way, they got these people from the airport to the hospital. That must mean an ambulance. Is that ambulance going to be cleaned? Who else is going to get in that ambulance? I mean, John, what we don't have here anymore is common sense. And that's what this man is. He doesn't have any common sense. Either that or he really is out to destroy America. And I'll go for that one. He is out to destroy America.
Yeah. I don't know, I don't know if he intends it, but there was a tremendous, I know we only got about 30 seconds, but there was a tremendous presentation by a woman on Rush Limbaugh, I think Friday, about how he really does hate. And I don't know if he
How he really does what?
That Barack Obama really does hate America. I don't know if he knows that he hates it, but he does.
Well,
I don't know.
Again, I want to tell our audiences out there that watch Dinesh D'Souza's movie, 2016 Obama's America, and also his newest movie out, America, Imagine the World Without Her. And maybe that'll give you some kind of an understanding of Barack Obama. It sure did for me. Hey, John, with that, we're going to go to a break. You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader coming to you live from the CCRS studios. That of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The way we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern, and around the world on the internet with our new internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. Don't forget you can hear our show anytime, day or night, from any telephone by calling 832-999-1199. And don't forget to check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioshow.com and CCRShow.com. Be right back.
This is Rick Trader, host of the Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
And I'm John Forsyth, owner of WNJC Radio. Fellow patriots, the Conservative Commandos Radio Show is for conservatives, about conservatives, and by conservatives.
We are patriots who want to take our country back from the likes of Barack Obama, Harry Reid, George Soros, and Nancy Pelosi.
But we can't keep up this fight without your critical support today. Can you help? Please go to www.helpccrs.com right now and make a donation by credit card or PayPal. That's www.helpccrs.com.
Our goal is to expose the liberal agenda and distortions. We are fighting to spread the truth about political issues, political leaders, and conservative issues and values.
Our hosts are not paid. In fact, we buy our own airtime, studio time, and pay our own expenses.
We created the show because we are trying to make a difference. So can you help the CCRS expose the truth in 2014 and beyond? Go to www.helpccrs.com.
You know, no one exposes the issues, liberalism, and the mainstream media like the Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Our view for conservative values and issues, take positive action to restore them in our country.
Help keep the Conservative Commandos Radio Show on the air by going to www.helpccrs.com and make a donation today to return our country to the conservative roots created by our founding fathers.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Jonathan Mosley and yours truly, Rick Trader. If you'd like to hear a repeat broadcast of today's show at 9 p.m. this evening Eastern Time, log on to vigilantlibertyradio.us, vigilantlibertyradio.us. And at 5 p.m. this afternoon, when our live broadcast ends, if you would like to hear a repeat broadcast of yesterday's Conservative Commandos radio show, please log on to cprworldwidemedia.com, cprworldwidemedia.com. And you can hear our show anytime, day or night, from any telephone by calling 832-999-1199. So, Jonathan, we got a great show lined up for our listeners today. Who will you be speaking with?
All right, we're going to start at 3:30 with Greg Robbins, who is a Hollywood producer. We like to kind of see behind the scenes, sometimes how opinions are shaped in our country as well as exactly what they're working on. He is developing a movie where heaven and hell collide about the impact on our soldiers of war and the wounded warriors. So we're going to talk a little bit about how he's getting around the movie establishment, but also the stories of the individual soldiers as well, and what we should not forget. 4 o'clock p.m., we're going to have Larry Klayman, the founder of Judicial Watch, then ran for office, and then started a new group, Freedom Watch. He can join us for about maybe 10, 15 minutes. And he's involved in a lot of lawsuits, including against the National Security Agency. But he really wants to talk, I think, today about what he's seeing going on in Hamas, and, as he has often done, the political complicity in these developments of what is going on, how we're basically funding Hamas through support from the U.S. government and those sorts of things. Then we're going to have, at 4:30 p.m., Joanne Fleming. I've been trying to get her on to get her schedule from Grassroots America, We the People. Now, she is going to talk about, I think she's going to be pretty tough on Governor Rick Perry, who sent the National Guard down to the border, but she said for years Rick Perry has been creating immigration magnets and giving all these spending programs that are inviting the same immigrants here, that he's going to have the National Guard go down there and just basically stand around in their uniforms. I'm in favor of doing something, but we do have to have some accountability about what we're doing. So a lot of politics going on here, Rick Trader, if I may go ahead. Yes.
Well, before you do, let me just make one comment about Larry Klayman. That I learned from you a few months ago that, John, I used to enjoy watching a program called The West Wing.
Right.
It was, in my opinion, terrific writing, but terrible politics. And through you, John, I learned that a character on The West Wing was created because of Larry Klayman.
Yeah. Because his impact on the Clinton administration was so deep and pervasive that they ended up writing him into The West Wing. And see, The West Wing is a great example of why we, from time to time, like to talk, at least I do, about Hollywood and stuff, because you look at West Wing, those people are magnificent at production value and stories, but their policies are horrific for our country.
That's what I say, terrific writing, terrible politics.
Right, but they do it so well, so we need to understand a little bit more about that. So I don't know, we slog away one step at a time. Nobody ever thought that we were going to fix everything in one leap. I hope nobody thought that, but we're working our way through this year. By the way, in Virginia, where I'm back right now, Ed Gillespie, former head of the Republican National Committee, I thought kind of a lightweight, a insider's dream, but he's only 10 points down from former governor, now U.S. Senator, Democrat Mark Warner, extremely formidable U.S. Senator. And it's just getting into August. He's only 10 points down, and he's coming back fighting. So Virginia might offer some hope to join the nationwide picture here.
Well, 10 points down, a guy like Ed Gillespie, who I'm sure has been able to raise money, I'm sure has been able to raise a lot of people to come work for him. 10 points down, 3 months to go. That's in play, John.
Yeah, but the thing is, Mark Warner can also get a tremendous amount. He has a lot of money. So the advantage that they thought that Ed Gillespie I wasn't there, but he could close the gap in 10 points. He could.
I think he could. Especially in this year, John. In this year, 2014. I mean, my gosh, if the Republicans can't pull it out this year, if they can't pull out several surprises, just think of what we were talking about the first half hour or the first 15 minutes of our show, John, this Ebola mess. And then we got this border mess. And then we've got all the other messes that Obama has created, including Obamacare. I mean, geez, John, if the Republicans can't pull off a lot of surprises this year, they never will. But then again, the Republicans a lot of time are stuck on stupid. So, geez.
Right. But the thing is, it's not just that there's bad news, but it is bad. It is things that are making people realize, now I see what you're talking about, why these are bad policies. Now, Pat Roberts is one of the elections yesterday, the long-term rhino that a lot of conservatives were going after. Pat Roberts in Kansas has won the Republican primary, but only barely. And the Ken Cuccinelli took over the Senate Conservatives Fund from Jim DeMint, and he says that of course they always put a good spin, but he's kind of pleased that they held him to only 7 points against a challenger that really not many people had heard about.
Who was that challenger, John?
What?
Who was that challenger?
Milton Wolf, very impressive guy, and a doctor. And he looks. I certainly hope that these people who have these experiences, I hope that they learn from them and keep coming back, because he's turned into quite a leading up and comer, but not previously well known. And he came within 7 points and held him to under 50, an institution in the U.S. Senate from Kansas. So that's the thing. Another race that happened yesterday was Justin Amash, which is interesting, and because he was the much more fiscal conservative, and the Chamber of Commerce, all the big spending Republicans, were trying to knock him off after supposedly, we don't touch incumbents. Ann Coulter, don't. If a Republican is an incumbent, don't touch him. Well, they don't keep that rule, of course, at all. And Justin Amash pulled it out. Now, they kind of went after him on whether or not he was soft on the NSA and defense, because he's a Rand Paul kind of libertarian. So it was a little bit mixed up, but basically a good thing. And so the rhinos who tried to knock off the fiscal conservative failed there, and a few other good races. So we have to go?
In a few minutes, I wanted to say that there's also a race in Tennessee. There's another election in Tennessee where a lot of people are trying to knock off Lamar Alexander, so that's another race to watch. But how
could I forget?
We're going to take our break now, John. You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader, coming to you from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with our internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. Don't forget, you can hear our show anytime, day or night, from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Today's show is brought to you by the First Amendment, and it is protected by the Second. Don't go away. John and I will be right back with our first guest, Greg Robbins.
This is Rick Trader, host of the Conservative Commandos radio show.
And I'm John Forsyth, owner of WNJC Radio. Fellow patriots, the Conservative Commandos radio show is for conservatives, about conservatives, and by conservatives.
We are patriots who want to take our country back from the likes of Barack Obama, Harry Reid, George Soros, and Nancy Pelosi.
But we can't keep up this fight without your critical support today. Can you help? Please go to www.helpccrs.com right now and make a donation by credit card or PayPal. That's www.helpccrs.com.
Our goal is to expose the liberal agenda and distortions. We are fighting to spread the truth about political issues, political leaders, and conservative issues and values.
Our hosts are not paid. In fact, we buy our own airtime. studio time, and pay our own expenses.
We created the show because we are trying to make a difference. So can you help the CCRS expose the truth in 2014 and beyond? Go to www.helpccrs.com.
You know, no one exposes the issues, liberalism, and the mainstream media like the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Our view for conservative values and issues. Take positive action to restore them in our country.
Help keep the Conservative Commandos radio show on the air by going to www.helpccrs.com and make a donation today to return our country to the conservative roots created by our founding fathers. "9/11. It's a day that will go down in our history as the most horrific and destructive scene ever to happen on American soil. It will also be, for most Americans who witnessed it either up close or simply watched in horror on TV, America, to participate in a national memorial I call the United Action of Prayer this coming 9/11 and every 9/11 from then on. United Action of Prayer is simply every American stopping whatever they are doing for 1 minute at precisely 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. to either observe 1 minute of silence or pray in memory for the 9/11 victims and their families, and perhaps a prayer of gratitude for living in a country where even 9/11 could not at all weaken the spirit of our great nation. If you're in a crash and have little cash, come to AJ Auto Body. We handle insurance claims fast, and repairs are guaranteed to last at AJ Auto Body. Come check us out, and without a doubt, you'll be satisfied. That's AJ Auto Body, 1345 Delsey Drive in Deptford, New Jersey. Family owned and operated for 30 years. We are a fully licensed and insured auto repair facility located at 1345 Delsey Drive in Deptford, New Jersey. We are your friend in the business. So stop in for a free estimate or call us at 856-251-0096. Check us out on the web at www.ajautobody.net. That's where you'll find our specials, discounts, and coupons. For all your car needs, come to AJ Auto Body, located at 1345 Delsey Drive in Deptford, New Jersey. 856-251-0096.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. "Give us freedom" was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-75 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Manier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Hello, this is John Mosley at the Conservative Commanders Radio Show. Welcome back with our host every day, Rick Trader. If you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 9 p.m. this evening Eastern Time, log on to www.vigilantlibertyradio.us for a rebroadcast of yesterday's Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 5 p.m. this evening. Please go to www.cprworldwidemedia.com and click on the Listen Live link. Now you can listen to the Conservative Commanders Radio Show at any time, any day, by calling 832-999-1199. Call using your cell phone at no extra cost. It does use mobile minutes, however. Now, we want to go to our next guest, who is Greg Robbins. So here we have...
Hello, thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
That's great. Well, let me introduce you. Greg Robbins created the world's first true... Yes, can you hear me? Hello? Yeah, we can hear you. Studio, maybe you want to check that out. Anyway, Greg Robbins created the world's first true Christian sitcom, Pastor Greg.
I don't have a connection.
Hello? He originally...
All right. Apparently, John, we are having a problem with Greg. Greg, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. Apparently, John's not able to hear you. So, Greg, we're going to call you back, try to get a better connection, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you. Hey, John, what we're going to do, John Forsyth Jr. is going to give him a call back, see if we can't get a little bit better connection so the two of you can hear each other, all right?
All right. I'll go ahead and give you an introduction.
All right. Go ahead. Make the introduction.
All right. And I'm sure he knows who he is. So, Greg Robbins created the world's first true Christian sitcom, Pastor Greg, in 2005. He originally stepped in front of the camera in 1984, playing a redneck thug in a PBS special, The Grand Baby, in 1985. Born in Glendale, California, Greg lived the first 13 years of his life in North Hollywood, and his grandfather gave him an 8mm camera when he was 9 years old. He began making home movies, and he hadn't stopped. In 1990, he met Jesus Christ in a very unusual way, and that became the beginning of many stories he would later tell in his sitcom, Pastor Greg. He created the wildlife series Animal Action, 2001. Today, he is still producing faith and family-friendly entertainment the way God intended it to be. Do we have you back, Greg Robbins?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Welcome to the Conservative Commanders Radio Show. Well, listen, there are about maybe 2-3 things I wanted to get into with you. One is we're always interested in how movies get made, our culture is influenced. You know, peeking behind the curtain, we were just talking about how magnificent the TV show West Wing was, but their politics we totally disagree with. Then you also are bringing forward some specific stories that we need to hear about our veterans, our wounded warriors. So hope we can get into all that. What is your movie then about?
Well, it's called Where Heaven and Hell Collide. You can learn more about it at whereheavenandhellcollide.com. This is a true story, and what has happened, a man named Jim Peters, 8 years ago, decided to get Marvel Comics to give them their superheroes to put on T-shirts and walk into the Walter Reed Medical Center in Washington, D.C., and hand them out on the amputee and burn centers and start talking to troops. He's done this now for 8 years, and he's witnessed to over 11,000 troops. And through this time, he has seen and heard of and witnessed everything imaginable. I've known Jim for 3 years, and he's told me some stories. And I says, this we need to be praying about. This is a movie. This is a movie. And the way the story is going to go is and this is all real life, but it's going to be acted out with actors. We're getting a very big movie star to play Jim Peters, and some of the troops will actually be playing themselves after they're wounded in combat, or at the moment of being wounded in combat. Jim will be telling his life to his psychiatrist, a counselor, and as he does, then he starts talking about a certain troop like Tyler Sutherland or Silver Star honored veteran Christian Brown. We will go to them in their moment of battle when they lost their limbs, and the pain and suffering, and literally every single day these men and women and Jim go where heaven and hell collide every single day.
So you are recreating their experience?
Yes.
Wow.
We're taking four different troops, 4 different men, and woven them together, basically, because Jim just he like befriends these men, and when they get out of Walter Reed, he stays with them and helps them and gets their homes ready, and like I said, he's 11,000 troops. The sad part about this, sir, is a lot of these men commit suicide. I'm going to tell your listeners one story with your permission.
Please.
Okay. Jim walks into a room, and a troop with no legs, one arm, no butt, no penis, is there with his back to him. And he is screaming at his mother, his father, his grandmother, his two brothers, and a sister, begging them to kill him. And he just stood there in the doorway listening to this. And when they refused and would not do it, he made him get out of his room, and he disowned them and told them never to come back until you agree to kill me. His wife had left him. The boy was only 24. She was only 22. She tried. She just didn't know how to cope. I'm not pointing any blame at her. I'm just painting a picture of where this 24-year-old child was in his mind and in his heart. Now, this has been 3 years ago. Now this man, which you can go to my website and see a picture of him with Jim, he's got a smile on his face, he's got love in his heart, and he's helping other troops go help them get through when heaven and hell collide in them.
Well, there's a lot there, including, I think, one of the things that jumped out at me is when you say his wife doesn't know what to do. And I'm imagining that part of what you're doing and what we need to do is help them, find what to do in those difficult situations.
That's why we're coming out with the radio, coming to do radio interviews and as many things as we can, because we're coming to the American people to join us. One of the troops said something to me when we started this process, and he says, I will tell my story if my fellow Americans join me. So we're asking for donations to help make this movie. I'm donating my life and everything I've got in it, and so is Jim Peters, and a lot of others have stepped up. We're getting an Oscar-nominated actor to play Jim Peters. Eric Roberts is going to be playing Jim Peters, and other actors that are like-minded, that fit within our DNA, that have a love for Christ and a love for, that are patriots. And I believe, and also the movie, it's not a war story. I don't want people to get stuck in their mind that this is a war movie. Yes, it takes place in battle, but this is a movie of hope. It is a movie of grace, of courage, of salvation. I guarantee the only promise I can make the people when they go to see this movie is that they're gonna cheer, they're gonna applaud, they're gonna cry, and they're going to walk away having a completely clear view of our fellow Americans and these troops and these heroes and what they go through.
Well, I understand. Now we'll have a break in a moment. I will want to ask you about your website. Now people can get involved, but I want to ask you. You said the number 11,000, and maybe you need to help us all appreciate the difference between those who the dead statistics and what the true impact is.
Well, in 8 years and counting, in 8 years, Jim Peters has walked in, has visited and talked with and cried with and prayed with over 11,000 troops. He's right now. He's at a military hospital in Austin, Texas. He met with a boy last night at 5:51. He texted me a picture. He met with a boy that was shot out of a helicopter and fell to the ground and has got half of his skull missing and part of his brain gone. 19-year-old boy. He's alive. And he talked to him and kept talking with him until he got a smile out of him. It was the first time he had moved his face in 2 months. And so when I say 11,000 and counting, all the way up to right now, Jim is still with them. This is all he does.
But people, I think people, I hear the numbers, what it means, casualty or whatever. The number of dead is not the full scale of people who have been affected. No,
absolutely not. And the hard for me is knowing that 22 troops a day statistically are going to commit suicide. And the biggest thing that I hear from them, I'm trying to say this and not break out in tears. The hardest thing that I hear from these guys is that when they get back home, it's not that nobody cares as much as nobody knows what to do. So what they end up doing is staying away and leaving them alone. And they feel alone. And it said that it was hard enough in that moment of battle when you feel so scared, but yet you fight through it. And that was a lonely feeling. See, but now when they get back in the United States, and I truly believe it's the reason for it.
Hey, gentlemen, I'm sorry to interrupt. This is Rick at the studio. Craig, we got to take a real quick break. Could you hold on for just 2 minutes, please?
Absolutely.
All right, we are going to go to break. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader. And we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with our internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. Don't forget you can hear our show anytime, day or night, by calling 832-999-1199 from any telephone. Please don't go away. Our guest this segment is Hollywood producer Greg Robbins.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with your host every day, Rick Trader, and I'm your co-host for today, John Mosley. We'll get back to our guest, Greg Robbins, in just a second. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 9 p.m. this evening Eastern, log on to VigilantLibertyRadio.us for a rebroadcast of yesterday's Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 5 p.m. This evening, go to www.cprworldwidemedia.com and click on Listen Live. You can also listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at any time by phone, any day, by calling 832-999-1199. You can call using your cell phone. There's no extra cost, but it may use mobile minutes. Thank you for holding, Greg Robbins, and I was interrupting you right where you were. I think what I felt was saying that there are a lot of people who don't have the answers, don't know what to do, but I'm hopeful that your efforts may help some of the people around our fallen or wounded soldiers know how to be helpful.
Exactly. I think that's what one of the reasons why I wanted to make this movie. The movie industry is the single most powerful influence on the planet, and I believe that we should be using this powerful tool to enhance life, and that's what we're doing with every movie that we make. This will be the absolutely biggest thing that I've ever done, and I believe in my fellow Americans that when they see this movie, first of all, they're going to walk away feeling 10 feet tall, and they're going to want to help, and they're going to be aware. And I think that is what the biggest thing that these troops want to get across, is for people to know. And like any of the stories that I just told, I didn't know them until I met Jim, until I walked into Walter Reed, and I don't expect anybody else to know this. I'm certain that our government doesn't want people to know this. My nephew just got back from Afghanistan a year ago and just got out of the Marines 3 weeks ago. I told him the stories, and he's seen the script. He's seen so many men hurt, blown up, step on IEDs, everything, and they just get medevaced, and he never knows what happens to them again. He doesn't know what happens in their life. He just goes back to being, to his job. And we're going to wake up America with this beautiful story of these troops.
Well, that's part of what jumps out at me, is because you can't expect a young person, even with those experiences, to know the whole course of their life, and they do need a hand for us to help them make through that tragedy, that crisis. So how, in addition to being inspired and I believe educated, how can people get involved in other ways in getting this made and helping out in various ways?
Well, you can reach me through my website at whereheavenandhellcollide.com. You can find us on Facebook. We're seeking donations, obviously, and just whatever you feel God's put on your heart, whatever you want to do. We've got the best equipment money can buy. We've got a very, very good crew. We're casting. We're meeting troops. We've got consultants. We got the best stuntman Hollywood has to offer stepping forward doing this. But again, it's the American. I think we're all better together. Like I said, that troop said, if the American people join us, I will tell my story. And you can see a video. You could probably play. In fact, other radio stations have played the video on the radio station. And that's at whereheavenandhellcollide.com. And it's two of our troops talking, myself and the real Jim Peters. And also I want people to know that proceeds to this movie are going to the Gary Sinise Foundation. We want the movie not just to raise awareness, but to raise funds to benefit these troops. And all of the hundreds of troops absolutely, hands down, think that the Gary Sinise Foundation does an amazing job in helping them.
People know an actor who often has been involved in military movies, and it's helping the warriors. Again, where heaven and hell collide.com. And, I think people even, 10, certainly 20, 30 years ago, the idea of making a movie this way would have been considered inconceivable. But this is happening. I think a lot of our audience knows that. We've had other movies on and talking about that. The recent one, I think, on Gosnell, Dr. Gosnell, the abortionist, raised, $2 million through crowdfunding. And this is a new development that's happening that people need to realize this really does work. Maybe it didn't work in the 10, 20, 30 years ago, but this is happening. And I gather you feel you have to do this to make sure it gets made, not to have to go begging through the normal channels. That's why we're also securing big stars to be in it that aren't charging us an arm and a leg. And yes, this is going to secure it to where we're shooting a trailer September 29th through August 3rd to show to the studios. And then also, we're shooting the movie next June. We're releasing the movie trailer in theaters Veterans Day, and then the movie will premiere in theaters nationwide Memorial Day weekend 2016. That's awesome. So over the coming months, when people are sitting there getting their popcorn, it will be promoted there in the movie theater.
Absolutely.
Well, it is an interesting and developing movement, like I say, that people are making quite a number of movies. Some, like everything, some of them we need to work on how they're done, but some of them have been done very well. And I think it's a tremendous democratization. Remember, Mel Gibson first, I think, broke the mold and say we don't have to be controlled by just a few gatekeepers in Hollywood, that this can really belong to all the people, the power of movies.
Absolutely, I agree. And we have people following us on Facebook right now, like Sylvester Stallone, and like you just mentioned, Mel Gibson is also following us on Facebook, and even Miley Cyrus is following us on Facebook.
Wow, that's exciting. Well, they could see that things are happening. So, so you have already being done. You feel like you're pretty well along here, but you need more. Why don't you tell me a bit more about what you need to get this going, and are there other ways people can help as well that you might recommend for in their community?
Well, you know what? It's spreading the word. Right now, we've got everything in place, and that's why we're seeking the financing so we can get started. And we're shooting the scenes not in battle in Buffalo, New York, and because we have a hospital here that's going to work beautifully, and it's closed down. It's no longer a hospital. So we're shooting in Buffalo, New York, and then we're shooting the battle scenes probably around the Camp Pendleton area in California. So if you're in those areas, you can come and be a part of it. But you know what? Go to the website. If you can't donate, that's fine. Tell somebody else about it. Put it on your Facebook. Email it to somebody. Help us spread the word. We are all better together. We can make this happen together. And as the guy said, if my fellow Americans stand with us, I will tell my story. And that 24-year-old boy with named Tyler Sutherland, you'll see the video of him. He'd be the first one talking in the video on the website. That had stepped on an IED and immediately lost 3 limbs, and was left for dead. And now he's back in the States and out of Walter Reed and married and has a child, and he's ready to tell his story. And he wants to believe in his fellow Americans. But like he puts it, if they stand by us, we will tell our story.
Well, I can only imagine, and I think about 1 minute. Again, the website is Where Heaven and Hell Collide. But I would think that knowing that people are seeing this movie and trying to understand may help some of these people feel that the people around them understand, or at least are beginning to understand. And it seems like the feeling that they can talk to their fellow Americans may be of a tremendous importance, so that they, like you say, that they don't feel that they're in a completely different universe. So I think
I've always seen it just people reaching out to us. We see it every time someone sees that video. They're like immediately moved. So, like I said, I believe in our fellow Americans. Absolutely.
Well, that's good. Well, thank you very much, Greg Robbins, producing the movie with others called Where Heaven and Hell Collide, and you'll be seeing it, and I'm sure we'll be talking about it in every stage. Rick Trader, back to you, I guess, for the break.
You should put me in the movie, Jonathan. Craig, you should put me in the movie. Hey, we're going to take a break right now. You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360R, flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet with our internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. Now you can hear our show anytime, day or night, from any telephone by calling 832-999-1199. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioShow.com and CCRShow.com. Be right back.
This is Rick Trader, host of the Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
And I'm John Forsyth, owner of WNJC Radio. Fellow Patriots, the Conservative Commandos Radio Show is for conservatives, about conservatives, and by conservatives.
We are patriots who want to take our country back from the likes of Barack Obama, Harry Reid, George Soros, and Nancy Pelosi.
But we can't keep up this fight without your critical support today. Can you help? Please go to www.helpccrs.com right now and make a donation by credit card or PayPal. That's www.helpccrs.com.
Our goal is to expose the liberal agenda and distortions. We are fighting to spread the truth about political issues, political leaders, and conservative issues and values.
Our hosts are not paid. In fact, we buy our own airtime, studio time, and pay our own expenses.
We created the show because we are trying to make a difference. So can you help the CCRS expose the truth in 2014 and beyond? Go to www.helpccrs.com.
You know, no one exposes the issues, liberalism, and the mainstream media like the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Our view for conservative values and issues. Take positive action to restore them in our country.
Help keep the Conservative Commandos radio show on the air by going to www.helpccrs.com and make a donation today to return our country to the conservative roots created by our founding fathers. "9/11. It's a day that will go down in our history as the most horrific and destructive scene ever to happen on American soil. It will also be, for most Americans who witnessed it either up close or simply watched in horror on TV, America, to participate in a national memorial I call the United Action of Prayer this coming 9/11 and every 9/11 from then on. United Action of Prayer is simply every American stopping whatever they are doing for 1 minute at precisely 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. to either observe 1 minute of silence or pray in memory for the 9/11 victims and their families, and perhaps a prayer of gratitude for living in a country where even 9/11 could not at all weaken the spirit of our great nation. If you're in a crash and have little cash, come to AJ Auto Body. We handle insurance claims fast, and repairs are guaranteed to last at AJ Auto Body. Come check us out, and without a doubt, you'll be satisfied. That's AJ Auto Body, 1345 Delsey Drive in Deptford, New Jersey. Family owned and operated for 30 years. We are a fully licensed and insured auto repair facility located at 1345 Delsey Drive in Deptford, New Jersey. We are your friend in the business. So stop in for a free estimate or call us at 856-251-0096. Check us out on the web at www.ajautobody.net. That's where you'll find our specials, discounts, and coupons. For all your car needs, come to AJ Auto Body, located at 1345 Delsey Drive in Deptford, New Jersey. 856-251-0096.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Manier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
The Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And this is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader. And if you'd like to hear a repeat broadcast of today's show at 9 p.m. this evening, Eastern Time, log on to vigilantlibertyradio.us. That's vigilantlibertyradio.us. And for a rebroadcast of yesterday's show at 5 p.m., in about an hour when our live broadcast ends, log on to CPRWorldwideMedia.com. And also you can hear our show anytime, day or night, by calling 832-999-1199. And our next, we had to make a little program change, which happens sometimes in live radio. Mr. Larry Clayman couldn't, something come up last moment, couldn't make it. So I called on a very good friend, a guest that we probably have had on as much as any guest. Why? Because I like her and she's a great guest. Charlotte Hayes is the director of programs at the Independent Women's Forum. She's appeared on programs such as Politically Incorrect, Washington Journal, PBS's To the Contrary. She's a former correspondent for the National Catholic Register and a featured writer at the Washington Times. Her works appeared in the Wall Street Journal, New Yorker Magazine, and I could go on and on and on. Her latest book is When Did White Trash Become the New Normal? A Southern Lady Asked the Impertinent Question. Charlotte Hayes, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Well, Rick, you give me such an introduction that I think, well, good Lord, I hope I can live up to this. Thank you for having me.
Well, Charlotte, I don't know why you wouldn't. You always do. In fact, when we got a last-minute guest cancellation like we did now, you were not an afterthought. You are my first thought. Because
well,
you always write great stuff.
On.
Well, thanks for coming on. Charlotte, you just wrote an article today, as a matter of fact, and it's very interesting that even now maybe the mainstream media is either waking up to Barack Obama or they're so embarrassed by the man, but the Washington Post editorial board to President Obama, don't tear up the Constitution. What are they finally seeing, Charlotte Hayes?
Well, now, I think I'm going to address that, but don't give them too much credit. Okay. I don't think they're waking up to him as much as they should. But I think that the Washington Post, which is a very liberal newspaper, does understand that what the president is threatening to do with regard to immigration, what he's threatening to do unilaterally, is against the Constitution. So they basically told him in an editorial today, don't tear up the Constitution. And, Rick, they used absolutely those words, don't tear up the Constitution. So I think, at least in this instance, they realized that we're really on a dire path. I mean, this could be a Rubicon of sorts. And, I don't know if you read Ross Douthat. He's one of my favorite columnists, but he's a conservative, still a conservative, even though he's been at the New York Times for a while. And he basically wrote a piece over the weekend, his Sunday column, which dealt with the fact that the media so far hasn't really been reacting to the president's threats to do this. And he said, they act as if what he wants to do with immigration is sort of reasonable. And I'm not talking about immigration. I'm talking about what he wants to do unilaterally. And here's what Douthat says, that it is not. It would be lawless, reckless, and a leap into the anti-democratic dark. And he says that this will be a Rubicon, and he's very surprised that the political class hasn't demurred more. I mean, I think we are really headed towards a terrible constitutional crisis. It's really weird to me, though, because lately President Obama seemed to me sort of a frivolous figure. He's interested in golfing and going to parties and Martha's Vineyard. I mean, sometimes it seems like we have a crown prince in the White House rather than a seasoned president. And it would just be a bitter irony if this party-loving, fun-loving guy who's in this killer rabbit phase of his presidency. If you don't know what that means, I'll explain it. Probably do.
Please do. I'd love to hear that explanation.
Excuse me. Pardon me. Obama's making me joke. Interesting if this is the guy who destroyed the country. Sorry.
That's okay. Charlotte, I'd like to hear about this kill a rabbit phase of his presidency.
Well, do you remember when Jimmy Carter was rowing in a boat and he got into a tussle with the killer rabbit, and the killer rabbit won? But after that, there was just nothing Carter could do that wasn't funny, that wasn't tragic, that was effective. And I think Obama's in that phase, except that even though he's in this phase, he really may provoke a constitutional crisis. I mean, this, to me, is just the most bizarre period of American history.
You know, another. How about this? Do you remember Happy Days, the show Happy Days, when the Fonz jumped the shark, and everyone says, "Well, this is
jumped the shark," and yet. He's still president of the United States, and yet he still thinks he lives in this sort of cocooned, glamorous world, like presidents generally are political people, but no, he's sort of a Hollywood person. He lives in this glamorous world. He has, like, his private plane, and yet this frivolous person may give amnesty unilaterally, and that would be incredibly illegal.
Well, you know, I want to bring John Mosley into this conversation. You know, John, Charlotte's talking about Barack Obama being in the killer rabbit phase of his presidency, and she writes in her article about the frivolous figure lately, more interested in golf and parties, going to Martha Vineyard. Well, John and Charlotte, and maybe the fact that he does like to play golf every weekend, maybe the fact that he does like to vacation like no other American. About every month he has to take a vacation. You know, John Mosley, maybe that's a good thing he spends so much time.
Well, it would be a good thing, Rick, except that he still is not above exercising dictatorial powers.
Well, you're right, but if he didn't like to play golf, if he didn't like to go on vacation, that would give him more time in Washington.
I think if he does this unilateral amnesty, it'll be the most dramatic and important constitutional breach in our history, even if he does it on the golf course.
John Mosley again. I had forgotten about the killer rabbit. Thank you for reminding us. But that is just too much. But you bring out the absolute paradox between the frivolous nature of someone like that and the dire consequences. I mean, I don't know that much about Roman history, but it does bring to mind Nero and how there can be this paradoxical connection between a frivolous leader and the destruction of, the society. While Nero is fiddling, if it really happened, Nero is fiddling while Rome burns. I don't know.
He's golfing while Rome burns.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
And going to Martha's Vineyard for 16 days.
Wait, again, Charlotte and John, I think that's a good thing. I mean, let's preoccupy.
I was prepared to think it was a good thing. I was thinking, okay, he's checked out. We're going to have a weird period where there's sort of no president. If he were to really check out, okay, but he's checking out, but still going to issue sort of dictatorial presidential orders. No, I mean, look, he issues these orders because he doesn't want to do the hard work of trying to legislate. So I have revised my original opinion, Rick, when I agreed with you that he was checking out and this was good. He's checking out, but that doesn't mean he's not going to break the Constitution.
Well, I agree with you, and the best thing we could expect or could hope for is for him to totally check out, but at least the times he's on the golf course, on the times he's not focused on ruining the country, those times where he's on the beach in Hawaii or walking around Martha's Vineyard or whatever this man does, or whoever he does it with. He doesn't seem to like to do it a lot with his wife. She and he seem to take these separate vacations. But what I'm getting at, the more time he spends away from Washington, away from the White House, away from his pen and cell phone, the better America is.
I still think that he can do an awful lot of damage.
I agree. Hey, Charlotte and John, we're up against a break. Charlotte Hayes, could you hold on for just 2 minutes?
Sure.
All right, you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader, coming to you from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, the way we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern, and around the world on the internet with our internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. You can also hear our show anytime, day or night, from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioshow.com and CCRShow.com. Don't go away. We're speaking with Charlotte Hayes from the Independent Women's Forum.
Oh, I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. EnjoyAbaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
EnjoyAbaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today, the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader for a rebroadcast of today's show at 9 p.m. this evening Eastern Time. Log on to VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And at 5 p.m., a little less than an hour from now, if you'd like to hear a repeat broadcast of yesterday's Conservative Commandos radio show with Phyllis Schlafly and Zach Taylor, please log on to CPRWorldwideMedia.com. You could also hear our show anytime, day or night, by calling 832-999-1199 from any telephone. And we're speaking with Charlotte Hayes from the Independent Women's Forum. Charlotte, you know, before we went to the break, you were mentioning how we are heading for a constitutional crisis. What concerns me is it just doesn't seem that we have any checks and balances anymore in our federal government.
I think we don't right now.
Yeah. And that's
I am very much against anybody talking about impeachment because that would be suicidal. But we really don't. I mean, our only hope is that whoever the Republican nominee is that he will say, I'm going to go back to the Constitution. Because, you know, we compare Barack Obama to Jimmy Carter, and Jimmy Carter was bad. And he said some dumb things today, I think, like we should recognize Hamas, which is a terrorist organization. But I think Jimmy Carter was a law-abiding citizen. And I think the Obama administration's not law-abiding. Congress asks for documents, they don't get them. And it's really hard to know what to do when we're dealing with such a cynical administration. So I don't think we do have any checks and balances right now. It's a low point in the Republic's history.
John Mosley, what do you think? Do you think we have checks and balances anymore? Or has Barack Obama just run through them?
We clearly don't, but I was wondering what you think about the Washington Post. I think you alluded to how sincere they may be. Are they motivated by this sudden Norman Rockwell, revival in their heart, or are they seeing it as political problems? One of the things you touch on in your article is that this is rallying, talk of impeachment or some of these things is rallying the base. And I'm thinking that what they're not telling us is that they're really afraid it's going to rally the other base. It's going to rally the Republican base.
No, I think the reason the Washington Post did this editorial was simply that what the president is proposed to do is so blatant and so terrible. I mean, I disagree with what Rick said at the beginning, that the media is beginning to sort of come around and recognize that they got Obama wrong. But I think this is just so blatant. If he thinks about granting a form of amnesty, that it's such a blatant affront of our Constitution that even liberals at the Washington Post will say, hey, whoa, slow down, don't do this. Unfortunately, I think there are a lot of people, and some of them serve in Congress, who will go for this. I remember listening to, I think it was Dick Durbin. Somebody said, well, can the president do such and such? He doesn't have the power under the Constitution. Well, he said, well, he can borrow the power. Borrow the power? That's not how our system works. That's how third world dictatorships work. You borrow some power. Oh, and you don't return it. So I think this is a real low point. And I don't think we have checks and balances. I just hope that if the Republican nominee is somebody who will be for a return to constitutional government, what's bad about all of this is some of the power that Barack Obama has abrogated to himself. Whoever's president next may want to keep some of it, and that's the destruction of our way of government.
Right. Well, Charlotte Hayes, you are accusing the Washington Post, I think, of having principles.
I think they do have principles. I think they're dyed-in-the-wool liberals, but I do think they have principles.
Well,
they're not my principles. No.
And maybe you could remind people, maybe listening in Philadelphia and around the country, the role that the Washington Post editorial page and the New York Times editorial page, plays in our nation politics. Given that.
The Washington Post editorial page is actually better and more interesting. The New York Times is hackneyed and predictable. They're both leftists, but I think it's very influential that the Post, which is such an influential paper, went against the president on this. Look, this is one of the two important liberal editorial pages in the country. They influence what other people think, and as you know, it was the Washington Post that reported the Watergate scandal that caused Richard Nixon to leave office 40 years ago. So this is I think an important editorial. I can't imagine that the president will care one way or the other. As I said, I think he's just really into the perks now.
That was going to be my next question: was whether you think it'll listen. But the influence is way out of proportion to the circulation. Of course, they have
a big circulation. Sure, the influence is out of proportion to the circulation. I mean, they're people. I'm from a small town in Mississippi, and it's really trendy and cool to get the New York Times and the Washington Post flown in on Sunday. A lot of people do it. But I can't remember the circulation of the Washington Post. It ain't what it used to be because no newspaper does have that kind of circulation anymore. Mm-hmm. But no, it has a lot of influence. But I don't think the president cares.
Well, that's the thing. Charlotte Hayes, Rick Trader's suggestion is that we should put advertisements on Sports Channel and the basketball games in order to get briefings to the president and get him to pay attention.
I think other than goofing off, I think this guy does watch TV a lot.
Oh, I agree. I think he watches TV a lot too. But he knows he is our. In fact, John Mosley wrote an article. It was an American Thinker, wasn't it, John? Barack Obama.
It's website.
Our Barack Obama, our pop culture president.
No, it was a low information president.
Oh, low information president. That's what it was. And Charlotte, John and I talked about here in the Conservative Commandos radio show that. Did you ever notice IRS scandals. Well, Barack Obama found out just how, like we found out about it through the news, and the NSA, well, he found out about it through the news, and these thousands of children coming across the border. Well, Barack Obama just found. Well, you know, our suggestions, John and I, our suggestions to the world is, if we want Barack Obama to know something, we should put it on Sports Center.
Well, and I also think he likes the show Homeland.
Homeland? Okay, I haven't.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I hear that's his favorite show. I actually do hear that he watches TV an awful lot. And I'll go back and read your piece on the American Thinker, because that's one of my favorite websites.
Well, you know how they
written.
have public service announcements on various things. And I think the sports channels could have one and say, here's a public service. Our embassy is on fire, Mr. President, and if you're watching, please check. Please call your office.
Well, you know what else I think about him? I think he's the biography president. I think he still doesn't know that his mere presence and biography is not going to make the world a better place. You know, he went to Cairo and made that ridiculous speech about a new start with the Muslim world. Boy, have we seen the result of that, new start. He thought his biography would do anything, and we had all of these leaders of African country in Washington, and they gave a big dinner last night. And I think the president mentioned himself 97 times. He's still caught up in his own biography.
Well, explain what you mean by that. You think that he's a
I think he thinks that he's the central personage in history. I think he thinks that the mere fact of electing him with his history was going to calm the Muslim world. The Muslim world was going to say, "Oh wow, the U.S. has this great new president. Let's just do what he wants us to do." And and when he addressed the African leaders, he said, "My father was from Kenya, and now I'm president of the United States." To which I say, at this point, well, who the heck cares? You're a lousy president.
But that's fascinating, that he just thinks the fact of his biography of his being a historical role, he thinks is an example. I think that's really interesting.
I think that he thinks the fact of Barack Obama and his heritage and his biography is enough to remake the world. And honestly, I don't think he knows what bad shape the world is in.
Maybe he does and doesn't care, especially the shape America is in or the direction that it's heading. Hey, Charlotte Hayes, we only have about another 30 seconds, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to tell our audience where they could follow you and how's the book doing and where they can get the book.
Well, you can go to Amazon and buy the book, but go to IWF.org, the Independent Women's Forum, IWF.org. We have great people blogging there. We do great things, and we are women who are not victims.
All right, Charlotte Hayes, when you get up to the Philly area, give us a ring. We'll have lunch together. Bring you into the studio. We'll really have fun.
Oh, I'd love to. Thank you all.
Thank you, Charlotte Hayes. Always appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Take care. God bless. And John Mosley, with that, we'll take our break.
Thank you.
You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader, coming to you from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, around the world on the internet with our internet broadcast partners. And don't forget, you can now hear our show anytime, day or night, from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Make sure you use a phone that you're not hit with long-distance charges. But other than that, there are no extra charges for the call. Please don't go away. John and I'll be right back with our next guest.
This is Rick Trader, host of the Conservative Commandos radio show.
And I'm John Forsyth, owner of WNJC Radio. Fellow patriots, the Conservative Commandos radio show is for conservatives, about conservatives, and by conservatives.
We are patriots who want to take our country back from the likes of Barack Obama, Harry Reid, George Soros, and Nancy Pelosi.
But we can't keep up this fight without your critical support today. Can you help? Please go to www.helpccrs.com right now and make a donation by credit card or PayPal. That's www.helpccrs.com.
Our goal is to expose the liberal agenda and distortions. We are fighting to spread the truth about political issues, political leaders, and conservative issues and values.
Our hosts are not paid. In fact, we buy our own airtime, studio time, and pay our own expenses.
We created the show because we are trying to make a difference. So can you help the CCRS expose the truth in 2014 and beyond? Go to www.helpccrs.com.
You know, no one exposes the issues, liberalism, and the mainstream media like the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Our view for conservative values and issues. Take positive action to restore them in our country.
Help keep the Conservative Commandos radio show on the air by going to www.helpccrs.com and make a donation today to return our country to the conservative roots created by our founding fathers. "9/11. It's a day that will go down in our history as the most horrific and destructive scene ever to happen on American soil. It will also be, for most Americans who witnessed it either up close or simply watched in horror on TV, America, to participate in a national memorial I call the United Action of Prayer this coming 9/11 and every 9/11 from then on. United Action of Prayer is simply every American stopping whatever they are doing for 1 minute at precisely 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. to either observe 1 minute of silence or pray in memory for the 9/11 victims and their families, and perhaps a prayer of gratitude for living in a country where even 9/11 could not at all weaken the spirit of our great nation. If you're in a crash and have little cash, come to AJ Auto Body. We handle insurance claims fast, and repairs are guaranteed to last at AJ Auto Body. Come check us out, and without a doubt, you'll be satisfied. That's AJ Auto Body, 1345 Delsey Drive in Deptford, New Jersey. Family owned and operated for 30 years. We are a fully licensed and insured auto repair facility located at 1345 Delsey Drive in Deptford, New Jersey. We are your friend in the business. So stop in for a free estimate or call us at 856-251-0096. Check us out on the web at www.ajautobody.net. That's where you'll find our specials, discounts, and coupons. For all your car needs, come to AJ Auto Body, located at 1345 Delsey Drive in Deptford, New Jersey. 856-251-0096.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Manier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
You can call the the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader. And if you'd like to hear a repeat broadcast of our show, today's show, at 9 p.m. this evening, Eastern Time, log on to VigilantLibertyRadio.us, VigilantLibertyRadio.us, and for a rebroadcast of yesterday's show at 5 p.m. this evening, Eastern Time, log on to CPRWorldwideMedia.com. It was a great show with Dr. Elizabeth Lee Valite talking about the Ebola virus and other diseases that are coming across our border. We also had Zach Taylor, who's a retired border guard, that kind of went over some of the truths and myths about the border and what the border guards are facing, and also about the people that are coming across their border. And we also had Phyllis Schlafly, who is one of the great conservatives of our time, and it's such a privilege and honor to have Phyllis with us. And by the way, you can hear our show anytime, day or night, by calling 832-999-1199. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioshow.com and CCRShow.com. Well, you know, John Mosley, this is live radio. And apparently we're having a difficult time reaching Joanne Fleming.
Okay.
But
I had confirmed her by email earlier, although she did say she's going back and forth across Texas to lobby and fitting this in among her lobbying schedule. So I hope we'll get her on soon.
Okay.
There are a couple things. First of all, if I can do a couple other things here.
Sure.
According to the Washington Times, First Lady Michelle Obama is saying that she believes women are the smarter sex and must use prominent positions in government, business, and other endeavors to affect change. Now, she may be joking, and I've made jokes like that, but I think if you really are smarter, you don't say that. That'd be just my thinking. She was speaking at a women's forum at the U.S.-Africa Leaders.
You know, John, I think you're right. That might be the litmus test to show who is not smarter.
Yeah. Women often do have great influence because they don't let on that they're the ones really calling the shots half the time. That would be one thing there. So now the other thing I was going to say is that we were talking with Charlotte Hayes, and the one thing I didn't get a chance to squeeze in there was that I think Obama does believe in transforming America into a French socialist European country, so much so that he's living the dream already. 35-hour work weeks, lots of vacations, and you mentioned vacationing without your official wife, perhaps. So I think maybe that's because he's really trying to set the example for European socialism the way it ought to be. As far as that goes. But in any event, I wrote an article, everybody was noticing what was going on with Rick Perry, but my commentary on it was how Rick Perry is sending the National Guard to the border, and I was thrilled until I started to notice that they weren't really going to give them rules of engagement to do very much, and so I wrote an article saying that legally he had the authority to do more than he was promising to do.
Right.
It sounded more and more like the National Guard was just going to be a parade review. If you like to see men in uniform, they'll go see them standing there, and that's about it. But we're hoping to get Joanne Fleming on, who wrote an article in Breitbart talking about how Rick Perry, and I like him in other ways, but I'm going to call it like it is, that apparently he has done so much to attract illegal immigrants into Texas.
Like what, John?
I didn't know about.
Well, like what?
Well, lots of programs. He did a Texas version of the DREAM, DREAM Act to give in-state tuition breaks. He's basically talking about we have to have heart and making a compassion issue. Then he's also got a binational, BI-national, two nations health insurance proposal he wanted to to have. They wanted to combine the health insurance between Mexico and the United States. And a lot of ideas. We have, I don't know, what is it, 310, 304 million Americans in this country. Can we find anybody with a lick of common sense in this country? I mean, is it just you and me, Rick Trader? You'd think that they could find a little better choices somewhere out there.
Well, John, I think common sense has been replaced with political correctness.
I guess so, but geez.
Seriously, I think it's been replaced by political correctness. And that's why we have this problem. Or as many, not just this problem, but as many problems as we do.
I suppose so. But anyway, so we have, you said we have Lamar Alexander. When is his primary coming up?
It's today or tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it's tomorrow. He's going to be hard to beat. I didn't go to work for him. I went to work under Bill Bennett, and then he came in, and there's just this, I don't know, this mushy goofball metrosexual Republican. I don't know what it is about these people. So why do they open their mouth? So Governor Perry, wants to have. He's opposed to interior enforcement of border rules inside Texas, away from things. So all the things that they're saying now, don't seem to have been heartfelt or consistent over a period of time in terms of all those things going on. Anyway, you got Silent John, I guess, trying to get Joanne. How does Silent John get the guests on the phone if he can't? I hope he's not too silent.
Well, he speaks on the phone, but he's John's great to work with because as I'm doing the program, John, I'm concentrating on a lot of things. I'm concentrating on talking and interviewing the guest, talking with the co-host, checking emails, checking Facebook. Well, John is great because he doesn't bug me. We got some board up sometimes that want to have conversations with me at the time, but not Silent John. Silent John just sits back there and does his job. That makes him such a wonderful guy to work with. Hey, Silent John, why don't we take a break because I'm going to be working on something here, and I need you a 3-minute break there, John Forsythe Jr.
Okay.
Hey, John Mosley, we're going to take a break. You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and of course around the world on the internet via our internet broadcast partners. Please check out our website, conservativecommandosradioshow.com and ccrshow.com. John Mosley and I will be right back.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
This is Rick Trader, host of the Conservative Commandos radio show.
And I'm John Forsythe, owner of WNJC Radio. Fellow patriots, the Conservative Commandos radio show is for conservatives, about conservatives, and by conservatives.
We are patriots who want to take our country back from the likes of Barack Obama, Harry Reid, George Soros, and Nancy Pelosi.
But we can't keep up this fight without your critical support today. Can you help? Please go to www.helpccrs.com right now and make a donation by credit card or PayPal. That's www.helpccrs.com.
Our goal is to expose the liberal agenda and distortions. We are fighting to spread the truth about political issues, political leaders, and conservative issues and values.
Our hosts are not paid. In fact, we buy our own airtime, studio time, and pay our own expenses.
We created the show because we are trying to make a difference. So can you help the CCRS expose the truth in 2014 and beyond? Go to www.helpccrs.com.
You know, no one exposes the issues, liberalism, and the mainstream media like the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Our view for conservative values and issues, take positive action to restore them in our country.
Help keep the Conservative Commandos radio show on the air by going to www.helpccrs.com and make a donation today to return our country to the conservative roots created by our founding fathers.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader. If you'd like to hear a repeat broadcast of today's show at 9 p.m. this evening, log on to VigilantLibertyRadio.us. That's VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And at 5 p.m. this afternoon, in about 12 minutes from now, if you'd like to hear a repeat broadcast of yesterday's show, log on to worldwidemedia.com. That's CPRworldwidemedia.com. Click on that Listen Live link. And now you can hear our show anytime, day or night, by calling 832-999-1199. John, before we pick it up, I just want to mention that we're going to have a very interesting guest tomorrow. Kathleen Willey will be joining us. Now, Kathleen Willey is one of the women that accused Bill Clinton of sexual harassment. And she has been a guest here on the Conservative Commandos radio show before, talking about how Hillary Clinton is the war on women. Well, Kathleen is joining us tomorrow to talk about Hillary's new book. She's been checking it out, and so it's going to be interesting to talk with her tomorrow. So, what else is on your radar screen, John Mosley?
Well, a great deal is happening. Of course, the WDEL.com, the biggest radio station in Delaware, is reporting that the general shot in Afghanistan will be returning to Dover Air Force Base. As he's sending back there, that's going to be a very sad thing there. That was not a good example of we've lost an ambassador and now we've lost a general under fire there, and I don't think that was a good example of security. But there's so much else going on. I don't know if you met this Finnish reporter from Gaza. Did you? And forgive me, but Aishi Zidane, a reporter for Finland's largest newspaper, Helsingin Sanomat, confirmed and reported that Hamas was firing rockets from a hospital. Remember that the allegations that these schools, quote-unquote schools, somebody was saying just because you put a blackboard on the wall of a rocket factory doesn't make it a school. She confirmed that and uploaded a YouTube of Shifa Hospital at 2 a.m. being used in Gaza to fire rockets at Israel. Now, the funny thing is that as soon as that was picked up and repeated, she was furious that she's being used for propaganda. And you know that the Associated Press, the Washington Post, somebody reports something, it gets re-reported all around the world in the news media. That's just the nature of the news business. But she reported the truth that Gaza is using civilian facilities to attack Israel, and that she's mad that people mentioned it. So I just don't understand. Also, very, very interesting on the Daily Mail today, let me find this again, that an Indian, meaning, the continent, Indian crew filmed Hamas putting together rockets. What they did is they put out a tent, they assembled the rocket in the ground. They didn't realize that in this residential area, the Indian news crew was filming out the window, and they filmed this whole thing, and then they showed how they took down the tent, walked away with wires, and then waited, and then they filmed it when they fired off this rocket from a residential neighborhood in Gaza towards Israel. And they didn't. It's interesting because they didn't publish it until they had left the building. They left the area so that they could have security. Now they also, I don't know if you've seen the news, Rick Trader, about Israel, the Israeli Defense Force. It's in the same one of the places with the same Daily Mail article. Daily Mail, of course, out of England. We usually get better news about the world and the United States from the United Kingdom than we get from the United States media.
Yeah, I wonder why that is.
Yeah. But they have found this Hamas manual. Now, I wish they'd release all of it. I would love to see... You remember the Cuban Missile Crisis when they went up there to the United Nations? I'd like to see Israel with this Hamas manual up there pounding the table at the United Nations.
Right.
Not that it would do any good. But, people, you have to interpret some of these things, but they published several pages of this Hamas manual. This is how Hamas, if you're a recruit or whatever, like your job is how to be a Hamas member. Mm-hmm. And they talk about how to go about some of these attacks, and they specifically talk about that Israel is trying to avoid civilian casualties, and it's in our interest, to try to have civilian casualties. Now, the exact wording, A, is translated, and B, of course, it's not designed to be for this purpose, but there's controversy because the word human shield doesn't literally appear in there, but basically that's the point, is that they're giving instructions to these Hamas fighters to place their attacks where they will get retaliation back from the Israeli Defense Force and create propaganda. I mean, I don't know. Did you see? We never talked about this directly. Have you seen those videos some time ago where they have these corpses around Gaza and the same people are like in 10 different locations?
Oh, that sounds like a scheme that. Who was the guy who was the great Matthew Brady? Matthew Brady would do during right after the Battle of Gettysburg. Matthew Brady is famous for taking pictures about 2 or 3 days after the Battle of Gettysburg. And what he would do is he would take one corpse and move it from place to place to place and photograph it in different positions. Because by that time, by the time he got there, the battleground, the Union Army was starting to clear up the battleground. Okay, buried the dead. Of course, they buried the Union troops first, but they left some of the Confederates. So Matthew Brady would have the Confederate troops posed in different positions, like at Devil's Den and whatever. And so a lot of the famous Matthew Brady photographs of Gettysburg showed the same soldier over and over again.
Well, I understand that in some of these cases they've had. I don't know if I've seen this video, but someone was saying they have video of them carrying a funeral procession, and they stumble carrying the corpse, and the corpse gets up and walks away.
No, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, there's that, and the thing is,
gosh.
Here they'll have pictures where the dead bodies are up walking around, and then they lie down, and they go, then they take them to another lie down. So they know that this is the most potent weapon that they have is our gullibility, and I'm not that every dead person, doesn't matter. But
John, they must laugh at us like crazy. I mean, they must have a good belly laugh at our expense. When I say our, I mean that of the United States. They gotta think, what fools are we fighting? What fools are our opponents? And they're right. The fact that I don't know what the percentage is, but there's a large percentage of Americans and a large percentage of the world think that Israel is the aggressor in this. Why? Because that's what Hamas says. And that's what the liberal media reports. They don't talk about the thousands, literally thousands of rockets that Hamas has fired into Israel with the sole purpose of killing innocent people.
Right. And they, they know it. I'm not, that they realize what they're, they realize it and we don't, because they're smart and we're not trying. But, any intelligent person tries to understand what's going on the other side, except us. I think it was not only Kevin Wade, but some other people reporting from Israel recently that they're it doesn't seem to, it seems that the resolve of the Hamas fighters was not what it used to be. That maybe they're not really buying this the way they used to. And I certainly hope that people are waking up to some of this stuff. But I don't know. We'll see. But apparently this Hamas manual is quite a coup. But I wish, I don't know why they don't just release the whole thing. Maybe they're afraid too many people will read it. But I think that I think.
Well, it depends whose hands this Hamas manual is in. Depends where their political persuasions are.
Well, Israel got it by
Israel got it. Okay.
Over them.
Okay.
Israel captured it from.
Well, maybe there's a lot of things they don't want to release in it, John, because it's secret. And if you tell your enemy what you know about them, well, then the enemy will just change their tactics.
That could be. We could end up distributing it more efficiently.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I, you'd think that what does it take, So they have released a couple pages about the use of human shields, and we'll see if anybody cares what Hamas admitting it in their own words means.
All right, John. Hey, John, we're almost up against the end of our show. I want to thank our guest for joining us today, Charlotte Hayes from the Independent Women's Forum, and also Greg Robbins. John Mosley, you want to give out Greg's website one more time? People can check out the website. Sure. People can.
Where Heaven and Hell Collide. Heaven and Hell Collide,
and also the website.
But it's where, not when. I keep getting it wrong.
Okay. Also, Charlotte Hayes from the Independent Women's Forum, IWF.com. Don't forget, tomorrow we're going to have Kathleen Willey on the Conservative Commandos radio show. And once again, Kathleen was one of the people that was sexually harassed by Bill Clinton in the Oval. She's going to join us tomorrow to talk about Hillary's book. Should be very interesting. So, as usual, we'll have a great show lined up for our listeners. We're also going to have Fred Lucas. Fred writes for The Blaze. He's their White House correspondent. He's also the official, unofficial correspondent, White House correspondent for the Conservative Commandos radio show. But for right now, we got to run. We got to go. We're out of time. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow on the radio. God bless you all.
Thank you for listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show. Huge thanks to our co-hosts, contributors, patrons, callers, and our friends at WNJC 1360 and WIFI 1460, where we broadcast live every Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern and 2 to 4 p.m. Central. Look for us on the internet at www.ccrshow.com. Until next time, we are the Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard.